Hello, friends, and welcome back to the tent. Thank you for clicking on this video. My name is Christy, spelled with an E, and if you are unfamiliar with me or my story, in the past 2 years, I have lost over 80 pounds and reversed my type 2 diabetes. And before I go any further, I just want to say that I'm not a medical professional. I don't hold any degrees or certificates, so anything that I say should not be taken as medical advice. I am just sharing my story, experiences, and what I have learned. I did a video on fiber a little bit ago, and I wanted to expand on that a little bit. I saw a great presentation from a conference in Denver, Colorado in 2019 by Zoe Harcum, and I have linked her video in the description so you can go and watch that for yourself. It has much more information in it than I could put together for you guys. And it's hard to remember everything, that all the information that gets put in your head sometimes just makes it so full that you can't remember everything. So I will link her video so that you can see that one as well. And if you haven't met Lucky yet, this is Lucky. He must be involved in everything. So when we're talking about fiber, as a type 2 diabetic, which as a side note here, that used to be called adult onset diabetes. The name was changed, I believe, in the late 90s, early 2000s. It used to be that type 1 diabetes was juvenile diabetes and type 2 was adult onset. But because so many children were being diagnosed with adult onset diabetes, the name didn't fit anymore, so they had to reclassify it as type 2 diabetes. And as a former diabetic, the one thing that we all understand is that carbs and sugars are basically the same thing. And there are different types of sugar. There are monosaccharides, which is glucose, fructose, and galactose, which sounds out of this world. And there are disaccharides, which are two sugars, so made up of one of each of the single or monosaccharides. Trying to remember these words is not always easy. But these two sugars are lactose, sucrose, and maltose. Sucrose is made up of glucose and fructose. Lactose is made up of glucose and galactose. And maltose is made up of glucose and glucose. And those are two of the basics. And then if you go a little deeper, there are polysaccharides, which means many sugars. And that is where fiber comes in. There are two types of polysaccharides. You have digestible and indigestible. The digestible form is glycogen. Yes, Lucky. Hello. Lucky has glycogen, and so do I. It is found in animals and humans. I am not advocating for cannibalism, just making an observation. And the undigestible polysaccharides, which is fiber, is either soluble, which is beans or oats, and that means that they swell up, so they end up taking up more room. Remember when we were told not to throw rice at weddings because it would make the birds blow up? Which I don't know if that is actually true. I did not do an experiment like that because I don't want to hurt birds. But that is what the soluble fiber does. It expands. It makes you feel fuller. It slows digestion. And the insoluble fiber, well, that's like bran. And both types of fiber go right through your body. Your body cannot do anything with fiber. It doesn't add anything as a nutrient. It is not considered a nutrient or an essential nutrient. They tried to classify it as an essential nutrient in 2005, but there is no evidence, there have been no studies to show that we need fiber. As long as we are getting enough protein and fat and are very low carb, we don't have a need for fiber. And it's very interesting where the idea of us needing fiber comes from. I will share a secret with all of you. My maiden name is Kellogg. Yes, that Kellogg. I am related to John Harvey Kellogg. Not directly, of course, because even though he was married for over 50 years, he never had sex with his wife. With his wife. They had separate bedrooms. Yeah. It's kind of weird. He was a Seventh-day Adventist who started the Battle Creek Sanatorium in Battle Creek, Michigan. And I'm also from Michigan. Go figure, huh? But he, among others, believed that meat and butter and eggs, any animal products, were stimulants and led to impure thoughts and masturbation, which they said caused blindness and early death, which we all know is a bunch of poppycock. But they believed that. He believed that wholeheartedly and came up with a very bland diet in order to keep sexual stimulation out of the picture. So that is where the idea of fiber being good for us came from. It came from the temperance movement. There was another man, Sylvester Graham, that came before Kellogg, who, yes, that's where we get graham crackers from, believed the same thing. It's quite interesting to read that is how veganism and eating fiber really came to popularity, was with the Seventh-day Adventists during the temperance movement. And the leaders of the temperance movement were not preachers, as you would think. They were doctors who also believed that eating a diet high in fiber would make your sexual urges go away, because that was a sin and people are evil, especially men. So the graham cracker was invented to stop masturbation. I'm not kidding. You can look it up. His name was Sylvester Graham. It's quite interesting. But the bottom line is, we do not need fiber. We've been told that we need fiber. There's no evidence to back anything up. There are no studies that say that can show you conclusively. There are a few studies that say, well, people that eat a high fiber diet are healthier. Okay, well, that's correlation, not causation. And just because healthy people eat fiber doesn't mean that fiber makes you healthy. So there really is no reason that we need fiber. They say, well, it helps you go number 2. And while in some cases that may be true, in other cases it also makes you even more constipated. And nobody really likes that, of course. So when it comes down to it, we don't need fiber. We don't have a dietary need for it. And that should be taken, like everything else, with a grain of salt, and do your own research and see how your body does with things. My body does not like fiber. I am mainly a carnivore. I mainly eat meat. I don't eat a whole lot of other things, but I do eat nuts here and there. And when I eat, a quarter cup of nuts, a nice big handful of nuts, my tummy will tell me later on that it's not happy with me. It does not like it. So even though I enjoy nuts, I try to keep them to a bit of a minimum because my body just doesn't like it. And the carnivore diet is a really good elimination diet to figure out what foods that you can tolerate and which ones that you can't. So that is what I have done. I've gone to basically strictly eating meat. I don't eat much dairy either at the moment, mainly because I don't trust cheese from the store. I don't know how it's made. I don't know if it's actual cheese. Kraft singles cannot be called cheese because they are basically plastic. So I don't know how they make it, so I've just stayed away from it. Same thing with dairy. I have been looking for some raw milk or goat's milk that maybe I could introduce into my diet and see how my body does with that more than the store-bought pasteurized milk. And I know that there are warnings against consuming raw milk, but I don't believe that those warnings are as legit as we think they are. And again, this is just my opinion. I am not a medical professional. Please do not take anything that I say as medical advice. These are just things that I have learned about my body in my journey. So I will make a video a little bit later on exactly how I lost that 80 pounds. So keep a lookout for that. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I will catch you all later. Toodles.